welcome that.
But I will be the first one you sit down with, correct?
Absolutely. I'd love to sit down with you on that. I'll look at those tomorrow, Senator Booker.
Thank you very much. I want to move
But
on.
we have been restoring some grants.
I understand,
some have
but
been denied, some have not.
New Jersey, none have, and I really want to get to the bottom of that, and I'm hoping that we can reinstate some of those grants.
What you just heard was more than simply a budget discussion. It was a boiling point of discontent. Senator Cory Booker was not only fighting for state funds, he was also exposing a system of selective justice and political influence within the Department of Justice.
Senator Booker, I had stated earlier that yes, we did terminate grants. We have an appeal process. We have turned some back on. We are appealing. We are looking at some. Some we have denied. Some are still pending. I believe we have multiple appeals pending with New Jersey, and I would be happy to sit down with you and look at those appeals. I believe one is with the city of New Jersey. I know there are multiple ones pending, but of course, I would be happy to sit down with you or any senator or any House member and look at grants that have been terminated. I've been doing that, and I would welcome that.
But I will be the first one you sit down with, correct?
Absolutely. I'd love to sit down with you on that. I'll look at those tomorrow, Senator Booker.
Thank you very much. I want to move on.
But we have been restoring some grants.
I understand,
some have been denied, some have not.
New Jersey, none have, and I really want to get to the bottom of that, and I'm hoping that we can reinstate some of those grants. The second thing I want to move on to is that earlier this year, the Department of Justice charged Newark Mayor Ras Baraka after he sought access to Delaney Hall Detention Center to conduct oversight. The charges on their face, to many of us, especially in New Jersey, were clearly baseless. Many people say they're politically motivated. And then the judge, the federal judge, admonished the prosecutors for even bringing the case. This is the quote from the federal judge. Federal prosecutors serve a single paramount client, justice itself. Your role is not to secure convictions at all costs, nor to satisfy public clamor, nor to advance political agendas. The federal judge went on to call the charges embarrassing and a worrisome misstep. Mayor Baraka was arrested that day on the scene, and I know you understand this, to arrest a mayor of a major city on charges that were called by a federal judge embarrassing and a worrisome misstep is very concerning to me, and I think should be to the whole committee. A recently released video shows a federal agent telling fellow officers that the decision to arrest Baraka was, quote, per the Deputy Attorney General of the United States. And I'm assuming that person is Todd Blanche. This is evidence to me that this decision wasn't made by people on the ground in the field, but by Maine Justice, that they were directing an arrest from DC on the scene. And it leads to the conclusion that this was a political decision, that the decision to arrest was not made by the people who were there on the spot. And I can assume that you can see how that's problematic to me. So I have questions not about the case, but really about how the decisions to arrest and charge Baraka and now MacIver, Congresswoman MacIver, were really made. Before this committee, I am saying that I'm going to submit these questions for the record, and I'm really hoping that we can understand how those decisions, as our oversight, how we're making decisions, especially for high-level officials in my state, the mayor of our largest city, the congressperson of that city, and I'm hoping that you can respond to those letters on the record.
Yeah, and Senator, that matter is ongoing, and so I can't discuss it. As an attorney, you realize I can't discuss an ongoing matter.
And I respect that. I guess I just want to know, and we'll leave this for the questions for the record about the decisions on how they're being made, not the case in itself.
What happened between Senator Cory Booker and Attorney General Pam Bondi was more than just a disagreement over grants. It was a fight over the integrity of justice itself. In that brief debate, two opposing views of government collided, one that sees justice as a tool for fairness, and another that regards it as a system to be governed and defended at all costs. Booker's questions were not random. Behind his placid demeanor was a clear pattern. Under Bondi's leadership, the Department of Justice has been accused of slashing funding to politically uncomfortable areas while aggressively investigating local officials whose views differ from Washington's priorities. His worry was more than just money. It was constitutional. When a mayor can be arrested on charges later condemned by a federal judge as a worrisome misstep, The problem isn't just bad lawyering. It's an erosion of trust in the very system meant to uphold justice. Bondi's responses, while technically correct, exposed a deeper issue in the institution's culture, a concern with process above purpose. Ongoing matter has become the most useful shield in Washington. It's a phrase that implies legal wisdom, but frequently conceals political strategy. In this situation, it permitted Bondi to avoid accountability for decisions that may have had significant political consequences. Booker's focus on Newark Mayor Ras Baraka's arrest wasn't just about one man. It was about the message their behaviors conveyed. Arresting a sitting mayor, especially on allegations that are ultimately dismissed and publicly reprimanded, not only chills political independence, but also damages faith communities' delicate trust in the legal system. When citizens observe selective enforcement, they lose faith in equal enforcement. When the federal government's prosecutorial power is used, or appears to be utilized, as a political weapon, democracy begins to unravel. Booker's use of the judge's words that federal prosecutors serve justice itself was a gentle reminder of the DOJ's moral compass. The Department of Justice is not designed to serve presidents, parties, or political wins. It supports the notion that no one, even the government, is above the law. However, as Booker pointed out, that premise appears increasingly conditional, with varied applications depending on who holds power and where you stand on the political map. Bondi's deflections were emblematic of the modern bureaucratic response: polite, professional, but hollow. She mentioned appeals, pending reviews, and processes. All technically correct, but emotionally vacuous. For citizens observing, it sounds like an organization on autopilot, prioritizing optics over honesty. Booker, on the other hand, used the session to reaffirm the moral significance of oversight. His questions were not intended to generate headlines. Rather, they were intended to remind the public of the importance of oversight, not as a partisan weapon, but as a democratic imperative. He advocated for written follow-ups, on-the-record responses, and transparency about how choices were made, the very tools Congress is supposed to use to hold the executive branch accountable. The clash also highlighted a larger dilemma in American governance: the creeping demise of transparency. Over time, "I can't discuss that" has displaced "here's what happened." The culture of secrecy undermines legitimacy. It's not just frustrating for lawmakers like Booker, it also alienates individuals who perceive a justice system that is selective, inaccessible, and immune to public scrutiny. When oversight becomes theater, with hearings that are more about deflection than transparency, accountability dies softly, and in that vacuum, skepticism grows. Booker's dissatisfaction, New Jersey, none have, was not limited to grants. It was about fairness. It was about seeing his constituents punished by funding cuts as politically driven prosecutions go unabated. The stakes extend beyond one senator or attorney general. They delve into the concept of what justice means in practice. Does it imply fairness, regardless of politics, or efficiency, regardless of fairness? Booker's insistence that federal prosecutors serve justice itself echoes the warning of countless whistleblowers, inspectors general, and former DOJ officials. When prosecution becomes political, law becomes performance. To her credit, Bondi's cool never wavered, but her composure was precisely the problem. Calm does not equal credible. By refusing to even acknowledge the basic facts Booker raised, she confirmed the very suspicion at the heart of his argument, that DOJ decisions are being filtered through political considerations rather than impartial judgment. The deeper tragedy is how normalized this has become. Citizens now expect evasive answers from those in power. They expect hearings to yield no clarity. They expect senators to fume and officials to dodge. And yet, when someone like Booker insists on moral transparency, even briefly, it jolts the system, reminding viewers that democracy only works when someone demands answers and refuses to settle for procedure in place of truth. This exchange may fade from headlines by tomorrow, but its warning shouldn't. Oversight isn't about political theater. It's about safeguarding fairness in a system built to serve the people, not itself. Bondi's ongoing matter might protect her legally, but it indicts the culture she represents. A culture where silence has become strategy. Booker's final line, his hope to understand how decisions are being made, should echo across every branch of government. Because when the process of justice becomes invisible, it stops being justice at all. So what happens next? Congress has the power to demand answers through sworn follow-ups and transparency reviews. The public has the power to demand that those answers be given in plain English, not bureaucratic riddles. And if both fail, the cost isn't political. It's civic. A democracy that can't explain itself cannot defend itself. Senator Cory Booker reminded the country that real oversight isn't about noise. It's about courage. Courage to ask uncomfortable questions and courage to expect more than silence in return.